Yeah, the instruction is fit the wiring loom to the engine, Jace.
Fit it. Untangle it so I can fit it to the engine.
I deliberately wrapped it up.
What have you done?
That's because this has gone through here.
Oh, I see.
So this one was it wasn't actually an LS 400, a 430. I thought it was an LS, but it wasn't. It was actually a Celsius, JDM Celsius. So that did create a couple of little issues with the likes of the alternator. So the 4-pin alternator doesn't work. It doesn't configure with the hilux. So 05 to 15 hilux it's going in, 4-wheel drive. It has to have the earlier model 3-plug alternator fitted, a 3-pin, and the early AC pump, because it doesn't configure either. So what AC pump is on this one? None.
Put this in the car because I didn't guess it.
This one would have had the same pump as that over there. This loom had like an early pump. Don't even know if I've got one. It had this style of pump. So I've made a main trigger, and they can actually, it's possible to put resistors into the solenoid, into the variable speed solenoid, but realistically we always put an early pump on them, and it's easy.
As long as it's made working in the vehicle that we had talked about.
Yeah, the early pump will just go straight on, no speed sensors, and it's real simple, like early Sora, early LS 400, so which is
like that pump there.
perfect, just like this pump here. Absolutely, that is the ideal pump. So on the one out, the O, is that like a 14 out there, or 11? I don't know. The 2-wheel drive one, we will put a pump like that on it, because he wants aircon going on that as well. So this, we don't have a quick clip for that, so we better we'll just hit it with the heat gun. So those are the two changes. See, this one's got the different coloured injectors in it.
The what injectors?
I was expecting pink, and I thought I was going crazy because I knew there was a different colour in some of them.
This is a GS 430 motor.
Yeah, this is GS. You've got a Crown. This loom's off a JDM Celsius. There's a JDM Celsius down in the shed, and the one out there is a 186 Crown, I think, but it might be a GS, that one, the other one I'm working on. So this one, of course, no power steer pump. So on them, of course, you have to fit the V6 temp gauge, temp sensor, EFI temp sensor, because that runs through the ECU, and that's why the V6 ECU's been wired on this. So your wagon you won't have to, but this one, so I marked the V8 one.
Yep.
And then you put the V6 one in, which goes back to the V6 computer, which then goes across to the dash, otherwise the dash doesn't work. So that hole needs to be drilled and tapped to a 12 by 1.5. And then this vehicle also has a front diff control, because it's 4-wheel drive, so that's in there as well. And then, of course, it's got a 4-wheel drive transfer. And so I actually made this a bit longer than it really needs to, because I don't know how big that transfer case is.
Yep.
So I've tucked that in so it can sit in. If it's too long, it can just get a loop. The start circuit was a little bit funny. So the 3UZ uses an earth for the start trigger,
Right.
where the Hilux uses a positive trigger. So that's why there's a little relay in that stuff over there. We won't step on that. We don't want to step on the diff control. Of course, three pin alternator fitted, throttle plug, PCV valve, cam sensor.
Oh, body.
So that goes into the body plug.
Yep.
So what's in there? I've got some diagrams of it.
Alternating shit.
Start trigger. That's alternator, that white wire, that's your sense for the alternator. There's some four-wheel drive stuff. There's fuel pump output is in there as well.
No.
So that's the second fuel pump. And the other stuff is, and a start trigger is in there. Right, do you think we can get a tray? Maybe we put the ute up in there, that supercharged ute. We'll put this on a tray. Earths, of course, are done up, and oxygen sensors. So this way you have, it's actually possible to get the ECU plugs wrong, because the 3UZ and the Hilux are the same plugs. But it's pretty obvious which are which. So we've got this is all 3UZ stuff, and I've made it so the grommet can still be moved. So this is, I didn't tape it, so it can be adjusted to suit. And same in this, I didn't tape it all up, so it sort of can be adjusted. In the factory vehicle, it's got like this big hard section through there, where it goes straight in and then plugs in.
Yep.
So this should, these ones, 1, 2, 3, yeah, factory body plugs. ECU plugs in. 4-drive computer plugs in. That big red wire, I've actually just run a spare power wire through the loom. And I've curled it up in here. And this can just unclip. There's no fan control. The factory computer's got a computer, fan computer, which we'll have on your crown, eh? Your crown will have the factory fan computer.
Yeah, yep. on the fans.
Yeah, on the fan. So we're going to use, so I've left the wire for that coming out of the ECU, which is in this stuff here.
So do I need to use that in
we can, otherwise we've got to put a manual switch in.
Actually, just have that factory.
Yeah, so we've got a choice. So that's for fan control, that blue wire.
Oh.
But then these ones need to be tapped into the factory Hilux body wiring. For the starter motor, I just gave one of our universal starter cables. So I got those. Had a whole lot made up the other day. Shane made up a heap of them for us. So they were ready to go. We just got a crimp on appropriately, cut it up to length, heat proof sleeving, so that's easy. This is fueling. And I just did a refab on the stock knock sensor loom. Notice it's got 2-pin knock sensors in them, in the late ones. So the 6 speeds have got a 2-pin knock sensor. So what do we got here? Oh, so I'm pretty confident that we're not going to need a tacho box in this one. So what I've done is I've tapped into the crank sensor going into the 3UZ ECU, and I brought them out to this little 4-pin plug here with a little jump wire, and I'm fairly confident once it's up and running that if that plug's plugged in, this will see a crank sensor and the tacho will work. That gets the temp gauge in the tacho, and the speedo for this one is off the transfer case, so no need for a box. It all kind of works. Whereas the 2-wheel drive is going to be different. And then I built this little loom here.
What's your fuel pump output?
And there's, so we're just going to manual it to this pump because the relay's in the truck. We'll just plug it into the truck. The truck's not in New Zealand. It's a long way to plug it in. And actually, see this? I actually reused the factory earth joiner because there were actually like 14 earths and there's 12 on one of those, so I put the factory joiner in. And this one, that was just a joiner. These are the couple of extra wires, those 2 purple wires that go down to the AC pump. If they want a solenoid, put a resistor into the solenoid. And what's that one? Oh, that's alternator sense, and that one's airflow meter. So then, these wires here just get connected into the factory Hilux wiring. So, like BM which is for the drive-by-wire, connected in. Bat, I'd actually take BM out of the factory ECU. Ignition switch, tap into that. Plus B, tap into those. STI and STP, so the stop signals, tap into those. And then FC for the fuel pump. Plug it in, or connect into the factory ECU, job done. Leave the factory ECU running. And I did a cheat with the pedal. I made a sub-loom that's like 1.8 metres long to go across the vehicle to plug into the drive-by-wire pedal. Because there's often interference in the factory hilux wiring. Yeah. And of course, being 6-speed, it runs that shifter.
Yes.
Which has got that console on it. So it comes down, so it doesn't have a low and a second.
No.
So that's where, well, we'll have to work out what we do with our other one. But I think I can get the dash lights to work. I think the dash lights should work. But they won't work on low and 2. And then this is, then you've got the uppy downy shift units. So that's that plug for the shifter for up and down. Change up for U and D for down. So you paddle. Oh, you've got a lock. Yeah, that's for that bit. Yeah. Into there. Got it?
What about the other vehicle that we're going to do? We won't speak about.
The one that's not yours.
Oh,
okay.
That's not mine.
Yeah. So we'll try and put.
Wheel, it's got the buttons on the steering wheel.
Oh, yeah, if you can get some steering wheel buttons, I can make them work.
It's got them on there.
Oh, we can make them work then. We should be able to make your steering wheel buttons work with that ECU. As long as it's a 6-speeder, which you've got, should be able to make it happen. Button shift on the steering wheel. Right, I'm going to put some. You've got fuel. The revised bucket of noise. That's cool. And I'll just run some wires for the relays and power supplies. I think I can remember how to do it from here. Right, I've just powered it up manually. It's kind of crazy because I'm trying to duplicate what's happening in the factory car. But as I've turned it on, I've checked I communicate with the scan tool. I've checked core power and injector power. Okay, mine are bridged in through that plug because that's in the factory vehicle. So you want to confirm it's got core power and injector power. We get a buzzing when we turn the key on from the throttle body. And that works. We check we get oil lights in the car. And then we fire it up. An airflow meter is also a good idea. It has to be the correct one. This one's really easy because it's got a big white plug. Whoa. What have I got here? Fuel pump. And factory fuel pump, relays and stuff. I do recommend upgrading the pump in the tank as it's really not up to the V8. And then I'm going to jump some power into this one here, which is in the car at that. And we know it runs. Sounding pretty good. Here, I've actually got an airflow meter problem. I'm running on my airflow meter, fuel pump circuit, which we know because I haven't connected it, and brake light correlation, which we know because it's not connected. Airflow meter problem wouldn't be a problem in the vehicle because it would be getting power. I've just jumped some power there. The actual airflow meter supply is up over here. So confirm the airflow meter's got 12 volts. We'll just clear these codes and we'll just recheck it, see if it revs better. That's looking better. Let's see if it starts better. So we give it fuel pump. Okay, so my jump wire's in. Let's give this a go. Better. Start circuit. So I think shifter's in neutral, and I put some power in this one, and there's that relay. It's in there somewhere. It's clear to click, and you get voltage. Put your test light on my voltage here. Same. Okay, I'm going to put it back in there. I'm going to move the shifter. Did the power go away?
What's wrong with it?
The top one there. It's a black yellow.
What?
Power go away? I'll move it into neutral. Power comes back. Into drive. Power goes away. We've got a transmission oil leak. You know anything about the transmission oil leak in this engine?
Yeah, transfer stuffed.
It's because it says the trans is stuffed. Silly man doing burnouts, but we got an engine. Right, so that works. So that relay does its job. Perfect. Perfect, man. I'm good. Let's take it off the engine again. Put it in a box, and I'll go make an alternator. I'll terminate an alternator loom, and we're pretty much good to go, man. Good to go. Well done. I'm happy.